Have you ever noticed how time seems to fly when you're immersed in something enjoyable, but drags on when you're bored? Or how some moments feel like they last forever, while others pass in the blink of an eye? This isn't just a sensation. It's proof that time isn't fixed, but rather influenced by your consciousness. The way you observe the world around you alters your experience of time and space. Your focus not only determines what you perceive, but also shapes the reality around you. Both modern science and ancient spiritual teachings suggest that directed attention can bend, expand, or contract the experience of time, and that the space around you is more flexible than it seems. In the next few minutes, you'll discover how your mind directly interacts with the fabric of time and space. You'll see that what you focus on not only grows, but also reorganizes the events of your life. More than just perceiving time passing, you can learn to use it to your advantage. What you're about to learn could completely change the way you experience reality. How consciousness alters temporal perception. If time were fixed and absolute, every moment would seem to pass at the same speed. But human experience shows that this isn't true. Time can stretch or shrink depending on where your attention is directed. In moments of intense emotion, a second can feel like an eternity. In others, hours can pass as if they were minutes. This happens because your consciousness doesn't just perceive time, it actively shapes it. Modern science suggests that time isn't a rigid entity, but rather a flexible dimension influenced by perception. Physicist Albert Einstein explained this with his theory of relativity. Time dilates or contracts depending on the speed of the observer. But beyond physical aspects, this plasticity also occurs in human consciousness. Your mind can alter your perception of time based on what you're experiencing in the moment. Think about the state of flow, that moment when you're so absorbed in an activity that you lose track of time. It could be playing an instrument, practicing a sport, creating something, or having an inspiring conversation. During this state, time seems to speed up because your mind is fully focused on the present. When your attention flows without distractions, your temporal perception shifts and you experience a kind of shortcut in the timeline. On the other hand, when you're anxious, bored, or suffering, time drags on. This happens because your mind is divided between the present and a concern about the future or an attachment to the past. Fragmented focus makes the experience feel slower and more exhausting. This explains why difficult moments seem endless, while happy ones feel like they slip through your fingers. The relationship between emotional states and time perception is profound. When you're calm and focused, your brain processes fewer unnecessary details, allowing time to flow naturally. But when it's overloaded with anxious thoughts, it divides your attention, creating the illusion of slow and oppressive time. This flexibility of time within your perception shows that it isn't absolute, but rather an experience shaped by your state of consciousness. Time doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. This means that by learning to direct your attention more consciously, you can begin to adjust your temporal experience and, consequently, your life's flow. What you focus on expands. Your eyes see the world, but your consciousness interprets it. This means that the space around you is not just a fixed, unchanging backdrop. It expands or contracts based on your perception. When you're in a place where you feel good, the environment seems vast, bright, and harmonious. But when you're in a negative mental state, the same space can feel suffocating, small, and chaotic. The way you perceive the space around you is not just a reflection of objective reality, but rather a result of your consciousness interacting with the environment. This happens because your active observation doesn't merely record space, it internally modifies it. Your brain doesn't process reality neutrally. It filters and prioritizes information based on your attention and emotional state. Neuroscientific studies show that the way we perceive space is directly linked to how our mind interprets it. For example, the reticular activating system, RAS, a structure located in the brainstem, is responsible for selecting what is relevant to you. If you start noticing disorder in an environment, your mind will amplify that focus, highlighting every detail that reinforces this perception. This can turn a minor annoyance into a feeling of suffocation and chaos. On the other hand, if you train your consciousness to perceive harmony and opportunities, your brain filters your surroundings differently. This explains why some people can find beauty and order anywhere, while others always see problems, even in seemingly perfect situations. Moreover, research shows that proprioception, your perception of your body in space, is directly linked to your mental state. In states of fear or anxiety, the body tends to shrink and contract, and the surrounding space feels smaller. In contrast, when we are confident and in a state of well-being, our perception expands, and the environment appears more open and welcoming. Many people have experienced radical life changes simply by shifting their focus. Great innovators, artists, and spiritual leaders have understood that the way they interacted with their surroundings determined their experiences and opportunities. Consider those who live in busy cities. Some people feel that the city is oppressive, chaotic, and overwhelming. But others living in the same environment see vitality, possibilities, and connection. The difference? Their focus. A classic example comes from prisoners who, in tiny cells, reported experiences of mental and spiritual expansion because they trained their observation to perceive beyond physical walls. A striking case was Viktor Frankl, a neurologist and psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, he explains how he realized that even in the most limited environment, his inner freedom depended on what he chose to observe. Those who train their minds to observe space expansively change their experience of reality. People who started focusing on gratitude and abundance noticed that, suddenly, more opportunities emerged in their lives. Those who learned to perceive beauty around them began to feel lighter and more inspired. This is the key. Space is not a fixed element of reality. It responds to your consciousness and your focus. How your focus creates coincidences. Life is full of seemingly random events, small coincidences that often go unnoticed. But what many people don't realize is that these coincidences are not so random after all. What we call chance may actually be a direct reflection of what we have observed and reinforced within our consciousness. The universe is a system of dynamic information, and every thought, intention, and focus acts as a signal within this vast energetic field. When you direct your attention to a specific aspect of life, you begin to notice patterns and events that seem to appear out of nowhere. But is it possible that these synchronicities were always there, and you're only now capable of perceiving them? This phenomenon occurs because your observation not only shapes your perception of reality, but also influences how reality responds to you. Everything you consistently observe has a direct impact on how events around you unfold. Think about those moments when you think of someone and suddenly they send you a message, or when you develop an interest in a subject and effortlessly start encountering people, books, and opportunities related to it. These events may seem like superficial coincidences, but they reveal a deep principle. Reality aligns with your attention. This doesn't mean that synchronicity is a kind of magic, but rather a natural mechanism of the universe. What you reinforce in your mind begins to manifest through external experiences. If your attention is focused on growth and evolution, your reality will start presenting more of these opportunities. If your mind is fixated on challenges and difficulties, you will see more of those situations repeating around you. Now, if there is this connection between focus and synchronicity, how can we use this knowledge consciously? The first key is clear intention. When your mind is scattered and divided between many points of attention, synchronicities become confusing because reality reflects this fragmented state. But when you maintain a focused intention, your observation starts functioning like a magnifying glass, bringing to the surface everything aligned with that vibration. The second key is openness to the unexpected. Many times, what you desire is already on its way, but your mind insists on looking for a specific path for it to happen. The problem is that this rigidity can block the natural flow of synchronicities. When you let go of the need to control how something must happen and simply keep your focus on what you want to experience, the universe responds in ways your logical mind could never predict. The third key is active perception. Many synchronicities go unnoticed because the mind is too preoccupied with distractions. When you become aware of the small signs that appear throughout your day, you begin to realize that reality is constantly communicating with you. Small conversations, random phrases you read, repeating patterns throughout the week, all of these can be a reflection of what your consciousness is attracting. That's why great spiritual masters emphasize the importance of cultivating a state of presence and mindfulness. The more you are present in the now, the more you perceive the subtle movements of the universe and learn to align with them. Why what you focus on materializes. Your thoughts are not just fleeting ideas. They are energy signals that interact with the vibrational field of the universe. And your observation plays a decisive role in this process. What you consistently focus on becomes part of your reality because your mind and vibration constantly influence what manifests around you. This interaction between consciousness and creation is the fundamental principle of manifestation. Every person carries their own energy field, composed of beliefs, emotions, and patterns of attention. When you concentrate on something with consistency and intention, that focus strengthens a specific frequency within your vibrational field. This is how certain experiences seem to repeat in your life, not because they are inevitable, but because your mind is trained to reinforce them. Now think about how your attention is directed throughout the day. Do you spend more time observing opportunities or difficulties? Are your daily perceptions aligned with growth and expansion? Or is your focus stuck on limitations and worries? What you cultivate in your mind shapes the path your reality will follow. Quantum physics has already demonstrated that the act of observation alters reality at a subatomic level. The famous double-slit experiment proved that particles can behave either as waves or as matter, depending on the presence of an observer. This suggests that, at some level, consciousness has a direct impact on what materializes. When we apply this principle to everyday life, we realize that what we choose to see determines what becomes solid in our experience. If you continuously reinforce a specific thought, your energy and perception begin to organize around it. This is why some people seem to always attract the same types of experiences. They are projecting the same signal to the universe repeatedly. But the good news is that this cycle can be reconfigured. If you learn to redirect your focus to what you want to manifest, you can transform the structure of your reality. One of the most effective ways to do this is through sustained attention. When you keep your observation fixed on something, your subconscious mind begins to accept this new direction as a natural path. It's like learning a new skill. At first it may feel unfamiliar, but over time, repetition turns this practice into something automatic. Try training your consciousness to see more than just what is already manifested. Imagine yourself in a position where you are already living the reality you desire. Instead of merely wanting something, act as if it is already happening, adjusting your vibration to this new frequency. The universe responds to internal states aligned with certainty and presence, not to doubts or uncertain expectations. Another powerful exercise is the practice of active visualization. When you close your eyes and imagine yourself immersed in the experience you wish to create, your mind begins to reorganize your perception to make it possible. But the most important detail is not just seeing this new reality, it is feeling this experience as something real. The emotion that accompanies your attention strengthens your vibration, making the manifestation process faster and more effective. For centuries, spiritual masters have spoken about the power of conscious contemplation. By deliberately focusing on a goal or intention without internal resistance, you allow your energy to align with that creation. But the true secret is not just in observation, it's in the quality of that observation. Observing with doubt blocks the energetic flow, while observing with certainty and confidence accelerates manifestation. Why reality doesn't follow a fixed line? Since ancient times, humanity has tried to define time as a straight line, a continuous and unchangeable flow of moments unfolding predictably. But what if time is not fixed? What if your perception and attention could shape it in ways that defy conventional logic? Quantum physics suggests that reality does not follow a single fixed line of events. Instead, it operates within a field of possibilities, where different versions of the future coexist and are accessed as consciousness interacts with space-time. From this perspective, time is a mental construct, and your perception of it is highly influenced by your state of consciousness. Moments of full presence, such as those experienced in meditation or deep creative states, seem to slow down time. Meanwhile, periods of anxiety and worry make time feel like it drags on. This temporal plasticity suggests that you do not merely experience time, you shape it based on where your attention and energy are directed. Modern physics reinforces this idea. The concept of time in quantum mechanics is radically different from the traditional view of a clock ticking seconds. At the subatomic level, particles do not follow a fixed sequence of events. They exist in states of possibility until they are observed. This means that time, in its essence, is not absolute, but rather a field of potentials that unfolds according to the interaction of consciousness. This idea is not just theoretical. There is concrete evidence that the way we perceive time alters our experience of it. Elite athletes, for example, often report the sensation that time slows down in critical moments, allowing them to make split-second decisions with extreme precision. This phenomenon occurs because when the mind is in a deep state of focus, it accesses levels of perception that go beyond the linear experience of time. Another fascinating example is the effect of attention on cellular aging. Studies show that states of continuous stress and hurry accelerate aging, while practices such as meditation and mindfulness slow down this process. This suggests that biological time and time perception are intertwined, and by modifying your focus, you can literally reconfigure your temporal experience. But how does this apply to everyday life? If reality does not follow a single fixed line, it means your attention can connect you to different possibilities in time. Every choice, every thought, and every emotion you maintain creates a vibrational alignment with different versions of the future. The more you reinforce a particular perception of reality, the more that timeline solidifies as your experience. Techniques to expand consciousness and access other lines of reality include intentional visualization, where you see yourself living an alternative version of your life, and tune your energy to that experience. Additionally, practices of full presence, such as conscious breathing, help break rigid mental patterns and allow a more natural flow of time. The great revelation is that your life's timeline is not set in stone. By changing your focus, your vibration, and your perception, you can move through the infinite possibilities of the quantum field, accessing new realities that were once considered impossible. How to redirect your observation to shape your space-time experience. The way you perceive time and space is not fixed. Just as your attention can change your experience of reality, it can also alter how you interact with the space-time dimension. Time is not a rigid flow, and space is not a static structure. Both respond to your consciousness. The more you train your mind to observe consciously, the more control you gain over your temporal and spatial experience. Most people live on autopilot, allowing their perception of time to be dictated by unconscious emotions and repetitive routines. This makes life feel like it moves in predictable cycles, reinforcing patterns that create a sense of stagnation. However, there is a great secret that few recognize. Time and space mold themselves to what you focus on. And when you learn to direct your observation intentionally, you can rewrite your experience. The first essential practice for expanding your space-time perception is conscious presence. When you bring your attention to the present moment, your perception of time changes. States of deep presence slow down time, allowing you to access deeper levels of awareness. This shift is not just psychological, but also energetic. The more present you are, the more your vibration aligns with new possibilities of reality. The second practice is intentional attention direction. If you want to transform your relationship with time, you need to train your mind to break free from autopilot and start interacting with time consciously. A powerful exercise for this is to observe your routine and identify where your attention is being wasted. Which moments of your day seem to drag on? In which situations does time seem to fly? This simple observation allows you to notice how your energy is being used and where adjustments can be made. Another fundamental technique is manipulating internal rhythm. Your perception of time can be adjusted through breathing and body awareness. Try taking deep breaths and deliberately stretching each moment. This helps your mind enter a state of greater relaxation and connection with the present, altering how you perceive the passage of time. Practicing this technique regularly can create a cumulative effect where your perception of time naturally expands. Additionally, you can use directed observation to create more fluidity in your life. Instead of reinforcing the feeling that time is slipping away or that you are trapped in repetitive patterns, try changing your perspective. Ask yourself, how can I observe this situation differently? How can I perceive more space and freedom in my daily life? Small shifts in how you observe create significant changes in your experience. What many people don't realize is that time and space are not barriers, but rather phenomena shaped by consciousness. When you learn to interact with them more intentionally, your reality transforms. The flow of time adjusts to your vibration, and the space around you responds to your perception. This means you no longer need to feel like a prisoner of routine or the acceleration of time. You can learn to use these elements to your advantage. We have reached the end of this journey, and now you understand that your observation is much more than a passive act. It is the key to shaping your experience of time and space. What you focus on not only defines your perception of reality, but also influences how events unfold around you. Throughout this video, we explored how your attention can speed up or slow down the passage of time, how your consciousness affects the way you perceive space, and how your energy aligns with different possibilities. Small adjustments in how you observe the world can generate significant changes, allowing you to live with more fluidity and intentionality. Now, the big question is, how do you plan to apply this knowledge? From this moment on, every choice of focus becomes an opportunity to transform your reality. The power is in your hands, or rather, in your consciousness.